Hi, and welcome to the TeamCP Quick Connect podcast, where you can stay informed, keep connected, and learn from one another along the way as well. I'm your team captain, Richard Greer, and today on the show, we're talking with Chris Wilson, who just last weekend completed the Tarawera 100K event, 102, maybe even 103 potentially last weekend. It's been a long road for Chris, which meant crossing that finish line was made that much more sweeter. So today we're going to talk to Chris about his build-up, what happened last year, how that affected his build-up for this year, and basically how his day unfolded. I actually haven't caught up with Chris yet. This is my first sort of proper chat with him after race, so this is going to be quite interesting just to sort of share some more stories as we go as well. You're listening to episode 25 of the Quick Connect podcast and number 170 of our TeamCPNZ media broadcast as we go. But before we get to Chris, a quick couple of updates. We've got our Adventure Squad dates are open for 2025. This is year 4 of our Adventure Squad. Basically, the Adventure Squad was built because all the events were cancelled off the back of COVID, and we thought, well, let's sort of create our own events, which aren't really events, but it is an event. So basically, we hire a van or two and we head into the hills. We've done lots of different locations over the last few years, into Arthur's Pass, Lewis Pass. We've climbed Little Mount Peel in South Canterbury, etc., etc. But basically, it's a day out just for the day. We always have a few people come down from the North Island or head up from down towards the south, and just come and enjoy an adventure off the beaten track as a general rule. So that's coming up. So 4th of May, 8th of June, 20th of July. If you can make that, jump onto our website and put your name down on the list. Also, we've got the Motatapu that's happening next weekend. There's a whole bunch of events going on. Motatapu, Team CP are heading down to that. I'm actually going to be running the marathon for that, which is going to be my 3rd ever marathon. I've been talked into it, so that will be a bit of an interesting day out for me. Started running again after the coast to coast on Tuesday. Done a 20-minute jog today on the way to school and back again. So we're going to have a pretty big day out. But more fun factor to that is that if you are down that way, we are going to do the Coronet Loop on the Sunday. So with a 1 p.m. finish. So the job is for everyone to finish together. I'm going to start at 8 a.m. But if you think you might need a little bit more time to get to the finish line in time, we'll have a 7 o'clock and a 7:30 sort of a.m. wave as well for you to be able to meet us at the finish line, or for us to scoop you up along the way as we head downhill and back to Arrowtown. So lots of good stuff going on. It's summer. There's lots of different adventures and events happening. And as I say, I also want to say a big well done to all those people that completed the Coast to Coast. Challenge Wanaka was last weekend as well. A bunch of people doing Tarawera too. And so lots of different events and adventures going on. I think we've got enough content to fill the rest of the year just in these last 2 weeks. But we're going to jump on board. We're going to bring Chris into the show and have a chat about running a really, 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 really long way. Chris, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, Richard. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. So how many sleeps since race day? So you've had about 5, is that right? Since you probably didn't really count Saturday night.
Probably 5, but I don't think that's full night's sleep.
Good. How's the body feeling now after completing 100 Ks around the forest of Rotorua?
Yeah, it's not too bad actually. The legs are coming on pretty well. I think I've been sort of eating all the food that was available in Rotorua this week. I just sort of took a few days to chill out. Managed a couple of short walks. Short walks probably Tuesday, Wednesday. I can promise there was 0 running involved in those, but there's definitely a bit of soreness in the legs. But I think yesterday was the first day I sort of walked normally.
Good. Okay, well, that's good. I mean, that probably just shows you the training that you've done, that you're pretty well prepared. That's not too bad, given it's a Wednesday, Thursday, and you're coming right from the weekend adventure.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, well, maybe we should jump into something. What's in the plan?
Whoa. Yeah. We don't want to race into anything too fast. We're going to put you in the top paddock a little bit for a little while and just let you kind of bask in your glory for a moment. So how did it feel crossing the finish line, Chris? It's been a long road, which we'll get to in a moment, but what was going through your head as you finally saw that finish line banner, the finish line chute, and got across that finish line?
Yeah, quite a few things quite quickly actually. I think it started from sort of got to about half a K out, and I was on a bit of a power walk at the time, and I thought I'd get a bit of a jog on.
Yeah.
Sort of saw the finish shoot and thought, well, you gotta make this one look good. You don't get to do this every day, so sort of get your fastest pace on and sort of cruise in, and then these somebody on the corner. I mean, you're talking 2:30 in the morning here, so sort of it's amazing that someone's there at all. But people there for others, whatever the case was, so they start clapping away, and it's like, oh great, well. And I've been well coached, I've been well trained. It was like, well, let's get these high fives going. So sort of headed along the band, I got a few high fives going, and then all of a sudden you sort of come up to line, and you're like, oh, what do I do now? Sort of a little bit of I was getting the commentary as well, sort of obviously grinning a bit. I'd sort of realised just prior to starting running that I'm actually gonna do this thing. So obviously stoked ass, and just like I did on the start line, actually, give it a good air punch, and then just immediately you just go from elation to, I think, just all the emotions just hit. So I sort of immediately just burst into a bit of a cry as well. So you sort of see me sort of cut my mouth on the video there coming through, and it's sort of just from smiles and punching the air to sort of crying in about half a second, and then all of a sudden there's a photographer there, there's a bunch of people there, and all you've been doing is moving forwards for 19 hours, and what now?
Yeah, I can actually stop. I don't need to do anything more. This is me now.
Yeah, exactly. It was it's kind of like, well, what do I do? There's this, I think if you look at the video, there's I see the photographer there in front of me, and there's this sort of lurch to the left to avoid him. And then I don't know, somebody hands you a medal. I got some support crew for the end of the race arranged quite late. Otherwise, I was solo. But my support crew was there at the end, so when I went over, gave her a hug, and I think you sort of just I know there's a healthy dose of really, really jolly well glad, to substitute some other words to achieve it. And gosh, it's late. Gosh, I'm tired. But just really, really stoked overall.
Yeah, good on you. You made the most of the finishing shoot, because that is what you've been working for quite some time now. You talk about high fives. It's often a goal I talk about is if you need to give the same amount of high fives as there is kilometres that you've run. How do you reckon you did there through the course of your day, over 19 hours?
Can we multiply by the lateness of the night and the number of people who were there? Because I don't think there were 105 people across the entire village green, including the
but across the course of your day, across your aid stations, because it's quite an event. They do a great job, don't they, of putting on the whole event with all the other events involved in as well.
Yeah, well, I got Paul Charteris probably a couple of times. So he's the event founder. He was there at Tarawera at the start. I didn't get him there, but sort of somewhere along the road I spotted him. And we've got this thing, me and Paul, since I did the 50K 4 years ago. We muffed up a high five at the start line. So we've worked on the start line routine where we high five each other properly. So I got him there. Then he showed up at the Tarawera Lake Outlet aid station, and so I probably got him there too. And then at the end of the race, we were just about to get in the car on the way home, and then there he is again, and so he actually got a bear hug that time.
Okay. So maybe hugs are worth more, and race founders, maybe that's worth more than just sort of one for one. So I think we'll give you a few extra points here, Chris.
Yeah.
Tell us about your journey.
Sorry.
Yeah, Karen.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying there were a few sort of world media and trail celebs and things there. So I probably got I don't know if you have heard of the Free Trail podcast in the US. They follow Western States, but Corinne Malcolm, she was there, so I got one from her. So I'll sort of add that into the
celebrity high five. I like
yeah, exactly. I don't think I high fived Dan or Ruth or Hayden Hawks. So I've got to work on that next time. There's my number one work on.
Yeah, good stuff. And even for you to mention next time, we haven't discussed that yet. But let's go back a step. Tell us about your journey in regards to this event. Like you mentioned, 4 years ago, you did the 50. What have you done since then? What in terms of lining up this time around?
Yeah, so it was funny. The 50K was sort of that was my sort of intro to trail running, actually.
Yeah, right.
But I'll save you the longer story in that. Somebody else who's doing the 100K, asked me out for a training run, and sort of 3 days later, I signed up for that. So that was really cool. Did that, and then I thought, well, I could do the 100K next year, but I signed up for the Buller Marathon to try and complete the set of events at Buller.
Yeah.
The probably part of the reason behind that was I did the Christchurch Marathon 2 months after the 50K, which went as well as it could do if you haven't really trained for a marathon and tried to do one. So I think that's part of it.
Back of this ultra, okay, well, this is a sort of 10 Ks or so, 8 Ks less than that. It'll be fine. It's not as hilly, should be fine, but then it's not, is it?
No, it's not the same thing, not at all. But you live and learn. I've still finished. Yeah, so I trained for Buller full, but unfortunately that was actually cancelled because of, I think we went into a level 2 restriction, the old COVID levels at the time. And so I thought, well, oh, there we go. I've given another road event to go, but actually all I want to do now is run trails. And I thought, well, the other option was sign up for the 100K at Tarawera, step up, and challenge myself and sort of have a crack at that. So that's what I did. Yeah, so that was 2 years ago. So that was technically attempt number 1, wasn't it, Richard?
Yeah. I guess it was.
Because that one ended in a wisdom tooth, unfortunately. So I didn't even start that one. So that's not really the story behind this year. That's just just an unfortunate thing.
Yep. So how far before the event did the wisdom tooth happen again?
I was due. It was the night before I was due to travel up. So
okay, right.
This was the kind of Wednesday night, and I was due to travel up on Thursday morning.
Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so wisdom teeth are sorted for this year. That's not a thing this time around. They're all organised.
Yep, they were all organised last year too. So I actually made it to the start line last year. Sort of trained. Probably training in that year was a bit on and off. There were a couple of whoopsies, a couple of falls and things, a bit of COVID, some other things. Just that year was kind of stop-start in terms of training, but sort of got together what I thought was a reasonable training block over the summer. And then, turned up to the start, feeling pretty relaxed. And then sort of the short story is I sort of got to 50 odd Ks, and this was an adjusted course. So it was because the Eastern Okataina walkway got smashed by an earthquake and then some heavy rain. That was close, so we did sort of an out and back. We did around the 50K course over the Western Okataina walkway and then back into town. And just on that downhill, you sort of had us going downhill, and then you had 100K leaders and even 100-mile leaders coming up the other way on this technical single track that's sort of a really rutted out, I'd call it a rutted out, moderately advanced mountain bike track. I'm not a mountain biker, but and that just sort of seemed to probably finish off what was a bit of a weakness in my knee. I started getting some pain there. And the longer story short is that I got down to the aid station, had a bit of a chat with the doctor, and decided it was best to pull out.
Yeah. And that was a big, lots of, debriefing and sort of thinking around that day out. What were some things that you did or changes that you made in terms of your build up for this time round?
Yeah, well, as you know, I gave myself a couple of days to sort of not particularly think about what had just happened, and then I wound up going to Whakatane just to hang out a couple of days later, and I basically sat down and wrote a list, sort of download of how things had gone and what I saw as the kind of reasons for what had happened and what I thought were really important priorities for the year, and basically that sort of mainly revolved around a couple of things. One was strength, and then the other was probably consistency and load,
Mhm.
and just getting that body ready to handle kind of being out there for that length of time, because I guess I hadn't realized that my body had some weaknesses that were exposed by being out for that long. So it's kind of really to try and see to those.
Nice, nice. And Kim has been part of the team as well. Kim Vargo, our strength coach, and she's been pretty instrumental, hasn't she, in terms of getting you up and running and kind of taking your performance to the next level. Tell us a little bit about how you guys have worked together to really help your performance.
Yeah, Kim's been absolutely, an instrumental part of this, a huge part of it, and a really enthusiastic supporter too. So, along with yourself and some others. But yeah, I think strength is probably about the number one thing that turned us around. So we just sort of got into it, and we both quickly agreed that really it was a case of, working on, I guess, that single leg strength, sort of really getting into the gym, pushing some heavier weights and just sort of building up what that leg was capable of taking. But obviously, not just the leg, you're looking at ankles, you're looking at hips and glutes and sort of backs and other things. Because I'd also had a bit of back soreness prior to the race where I pulled out. And just a few things where we just said, right, we're just going to go handies at sort of pushing this body and developing it as much as possible to strengthen it so that, that doesn't happen again.
Good. And you did a session with her, or a few sessions with her, and that was a real sort of game changer, wasn't it? And lifted some proper weights, didn't you? Like rather than just some body weights and a few kettlebells here and there, you were in the gym lifting proper weights, and that was part of that too, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we sort of, Kim never really sets specific weights for me. It's always just, I think the rule is kind of like what you can handle, and then you could possibly do about another 3 reps or something like that. I don't want to dispense coaching, but that's what she said to me. And so that kind of just got into together with obviously a bit of deep down drive and having the what had happened in the back of my mind was I turned up to the gym ready to go and ready to just push things and sort of picking up barbells and the heaviest sort of dumbbells I could find to do single leg weights, getting into things like the leg press and just sort of seeing, I guess, how far I could push things but stay in control and obviously not wind up with a barbell collapsing on me or anything like that. Just sort of to try and push things and go hard at it, really.
Yeah, good stuff. So with that build up, well, actually, let's go back a step. So obviously strength is a key part of it. You did a great job of your long adventure runs. Your key one was at Diamond Harbour all the way around to Sumner. And as part of that, you sort of you brought in a bit of the TeamCP community and running community, didn't you, to sort of help with that, which is pretty awesome. How valuable was that run as a training session, and then also those others that got out there to support you and popped up along the trail along the way?
Yeah, hugely. I think that run was I'd done some long training runs before that and sort of done, I think, distances I've done before and sort of, I don't know, felt reasonably fresh and sort of done those and thought, I'm doing okay at these long runs, I'm going to smash this. That run was actually a little bit more challenging at times. Probably wasn't quite as mentally or physically fresh going into that one as previous months. So I sort of battled a little bit of heat and also a little bit of tiredness at times. So that was kind of good mental training. It did all of the vert in Tarawera in 60% of the distance. So I don't think I was undercooked in terms of vert going in. So yeah, it was just a really good day because we went from probably the summer where we'd had not so much heat here in Christchurch to a warmer day. So there's some good sort of conditions in there. Tested me physically. Pushed me probably almost to the edge. I got a bit of a foot niggle out of it, but that obviously wound up okay. But yeah, in terms of like the people, I mean, I'd say that was even bigger, really. I mean, this goes back to the previous year where I trained with, Amy Whitehead on her Adventure for Dementia walks. I've been out on other runs this year with just too many people to mention, really. Examples would be Sarah Vermeulen or Sam Anders. Even yourself there, Richard, and I'm pretty sure I beat you in a sprint at the end of that run. But we'll probably not go there right now.
On this particular podcast, we'll move on.
Yeah. But there were definitely others. I'm just naming some more recent names, and ones who did some particularly long runs with me. And you're just saying, yeah, I'm going out. I'd quite often do runs with laps, and I'd say, right, or sections. I'd say, hey, just join me for what you can. And people took time out of their lives to show up for little old me and my crazy runs, which was just, immense. And these were people from, Thursday night run group or just the wider team who've done their own things. And yeah, huge part of it, huge support. So I couldn't have sort of asked for any more.
So good. So tell us about your day. How were you feeling standing on the start line? As the gun went, bit of a fist pump, yeehaw, I'm finally into it. And as we know, getting to the start line is really the biggest job for a start, isn't it? Actually injury-free, in one piece, feeling good, all your gear and food organised and ready to go. How were you feeling in the sort of corral as you were lining up?
Yeah, I was pretty good, actually. I was staying with a French couple, and the guy was also doing the 100K, so we travelled to the start line together. Which is cool. A nice long bus ride from Rotorua to Kawerau at 5 a.m. We'll switch lights off, so sort of there's a whole pub of this conversation, and then everyone sort of goes really quiet. And then you get to Kawerau. I mean, with the course changes and what had happened to me, it was the first time I'd actually managed to start the race at Kawerau. So it's just really cool to get there, and we just wandered over to the wall and had a bit of a sit down. Rest the legs. And I think at that point you've got, a really long way to go. So there's not much point really stressing about anything. You've done the work. I knew I'd done a whole ton of training and everything this year. You've done the work. You want to be there. So I was just sort of low-key stoked, a few smiles, a few jokes. And then when it came to sort of get going, you just shuffle into somewhere in the pack. You're not trying to push forward because what's the point? I wasn't going to challenge the elites up front for that Western States golden ticket or anything, so just hang back and relax.
Good job. You talked last time that it got ugly with your knee and ended up having to pull out. Were there any dark moments? You're out there for 19 hours and
30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay. 19 hours. There's got to be some dark moments out there. So tell us about maybe one or two of those and then how you dealt with it this time around.
Yeah, I honestly, there weren't actually too many, which was really good. I was really having a good time with things. I think part of that was I picked up a new friend at 15 k's in at the first aid station after a kind of blisteringly fast start. Those forest roads early on are really quick, so I was kind of enjoying that, making progress. And then, she and I ran together for about 30 odd k's, just having a bit of a yarn. It didn't get too hot at that point. The midsection probably got a wee bit hot heading up the hills and the forestry roads towards the Rotoiti aid station. So you're sort of looking at 45, 55 k's there. So probably did go into myself a little bit there. A few less comments and jokes. Missed all the lead milers going past me. I had no idea. I didn't even see Sam Harvey with his headband or anything. So there was a little bit of just probably just truck through it. Won't last too long. After that. Then you sort of go down this cool sort of bulldoze slip and slide downhill to Okataina, which I think shook me out of any funk that I was in there. Had a bit of fun there, and I think at that point I realized I was getting to the same point where I'd pulled out, and that actually everything was fine.
Good.
So at that
Good.
point, that started to feel really, really, really good. So then I left Okatona, and felt stoked that I was doing that. And then I'd taken a caffeine tablet. I won't name the brand, but
Yep.
sort of that was part of the plan to sort of just start introducing the caffeine a little bit. And then between that and starting to head up the Okatona walkway, that was when the real bad patch started. Sort of
I'm pleased you're starting to talk about a bad patch, Chris, because you haven't described a bad patch yet. The question was, tell me about a bad patch, and you told me about a friend you made, told me about sort of the fact that you're cruising along actually in your own head. So yeah, that's good so far. So tell me about this bad patch.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's. I mean, I was pretty lucky for that to be it. But yeah, I think it obviously was just physically grueling to get up the hill. I mean, I did pass people on the way up, so I was kind of going okay. But I think the caffeine pill kind of kicked in, and just my gut just suddenly shredded. I just couldn't feel like eating or sort of drinking anything for a little while.
Yeah.
I'll spare you probably a couple of details of it, but yeah, it just didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Managed to probably sip a little bit of the on-course nutrition I'd just taken on, but sort of began to have worries about like, oh, is my gut starting to go here?
What
We're
time
going to
of
be in a bit of
the day?
trouble.
What time of the day was this?
This was probably just about 5 p.m.-ish, so I was probably just a little bit behind schedule. I was sort of due to leave Okatona about 4 o'clock. I planned out, when I was, supposed to leave, aid stations. But that was going okay. So probably just late in the afternoon. I think if you're asking about sort of temperature and things, it wasn't really all that hot.
Yeah.
I think it was just I put it down to that caffeine pill. Haven't really sort of talked with Kush or anything about sort of dietitian side of things. But yeah, so it just didn't feel good, and so just probably took maybe an hour or so to deal to that. So I think I resorted to some chews and things, managed to get some things down, and then yeah, sort of managed to pass that off. But yeah, it was a pretty rough kind of hour or two. And then I think what actually then broke me a little bit more out of it was I caught somebody I'd met earlier in the race, and he was actually having a bit of a hard time himself. And we actually wound up running. So this was probably about 70 k's or 65 k's. We wound up running through to about 93 k's together. And basically, I think sort of finding him and then starting to head downhill actually sort of snapped me out of that. Sort of just entered a bit of a new phase. Sort of got me out of my own head a little bit as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Well done. One of the things that I think Kim came up with it that was shared around beforehand was #BeSavage after last time. And we talked about like actually your job is like you're not allowed to make the decision to leave the course. If you're going to leave the course, someone has to stand in front of you to say, sorry, Chris, this isn't safe. You need to stop. Did the Be Savage tagline enter the fray at all?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I thought, as much as my gut feels a bit savage right now, I've got to be more savage than it. 100%. That was most definitely going through my head. No, I honestly, I'm not sure the specific words came in, but I think the real, meaning behind that wasn't it was, kind of be dogged. I think you earlier talked about showing a bit of mongrel. It's just if any of these challenges come up, I guess show them that you're bigger than they are. You've got a bit of dog in you. And so I've heard so many times that ultra running's about problem solving. Everybody from sort of back of the pack to the elites, everyone has their issues. So it's probably no different. So it's just problem solve, truck on, get through. Probably won't always be that way. And obviously, just be a savage.
Yeah, good on you, good on you. Bit of a question that we always throw out with our Connect podcast is this one here is how toasted were you at the finish line? So 1 is the dark burnt toast. That could be straight out to the chooks versus number 9. You probably only just sort of given it some toast. So some toasting. How were you? What number were you at the finish line? 1 through to 9 in terms of done.
Yeah, I think probably a bit of context behind that is that the friend I was running was having a bit of a hard time, so we probably did walk a wee bit more in that sort of final section than I might have. Actually, kind of discovered some quite good running legs at about 80k.
Okay.
And then what wound up happening was I had some support crew, and I sort of had to. I didn't really want to leave this guy, but it sort of got quite late. We were getting close to Redwoods, and he was imploring me to sort of get back from my ride.
Keep going.
So I did, and I sort of then kind of boosted it down the steps a little bit. Really, I started flying down. I passed.
So what K was this? This is at 85 Ks or?
This was about 93.
93. Okay, so you started your sprint with about 7 to 10 Ks to go.
Yeah, no, it was taking advantage of a bit of downhill after. I wouldn't call it a bad patch, but an awfully grunty and torturous climb up to Tukarangi Pa. I don't know if you've been around that area and tramped or run there, but there's bike tracks. They start steep and they get steeper. But yeah, so I got a bit of a jog on there, and I'd sort of taken enough fuel at Redwoods to sort of pass through the aid station there as well. So I flew through the aid station looking every bit the awesome runner, and then took a walk about half a K later, all the way through to the end.
Yeah, good stuff. So you need to give me a number.
Oh yeah, I didn't, did I? No. So I'd say probably on that front, I was possibly a 2 or a 3.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's good. You have to say you did look good as you crossed the finish line. So yeah, definitely not a 1. You finished well, and it's all about looking good at the right moments, isn't it? As part of this.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think if you're going to be a 1 at the end of a race that long, you probably just have to fall across the finish line and have to wheel you off.
Yeah, which we did see a few videos afterwards. Not flash. So that's so good. Any advice to finish up that you give to others that are looking at maybe the Tarawera 100, maybe their own adventure, their own big challenge that they're looking to take on?
Yeah, I mean, have a go.
Yep.
You know, you're going to lose nothing by trying. I think, obviously, it would probably pay to have some running behind you if you're gonna take on something that big, or maybe start with a smaller distance and sort of work your way up over a couple of years. Obviously get a coach, somebody who's as encouraging as yourself, as Kim is, as others are. Even Jacob on a Thursday night with those tough sessions. And a crew of people around you, I think, to either run with where you can, just to sort of enjoy with you what you're doing and support that. That would be it. And look, if some knocks come along, I remember last year feeling like, when I was leaving Okataina, I was genuinely unsure whether I could handle that length of a race, whether my body was actually cut out for ultra running. It's just, look, you have to feel that stuff, but don't let it knock you down. Get back up and hit it twice as hard.
Good job. Well done, Chris. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, and make sure that you continue to bask in your glory and sit in that top paddock for at least another week. And yeah, you've done super well. Thank you so much for sharing. And the medal there, give us another look at that.
Yeah.
There we go. That's a pretty big medal. That's pretty cool. Nice work. I'm surprised you're not wearing it, Chris.
Oh, well, good
there we go. Maybe we need to put it on one more time. They don't get to go on long enough. Yeah, just like that. Job done. Well done, Chris.
Yeah.
Take care. Look after yourself, and thank you so much for sharing with our Team CP community.
All right. Thanks, Richard, and thanks again for the support.
Yep. Good job. Well done. Cheers, Chris.